Crooked FBI tanking fast as new details emerge on Debunked Dirty Dossier by Amy Moreno for truthfeednews.com. The FBI is finding itself in hot water as more evidence of corruption and FISA abuse emerge. From Washington Times, two pieces of evidence that have come together prove anti-Trump dossier writer Christopher Steele was the key source from a Yahoo News story that the FBI cited to support its wiretap application. Identifying the source of that September 2016 article on Trump campaign volunteer Carter Page has taken on added importance in recent weeks. First, Representative Devin Nunes, California Republican and chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, issued a declassified memo on February 2nd. It said the FBI relied greatly on Mr. Steele's discredited Democrat finance dossier to obtain a surveillance warrant on Mr. Page. To bolster the dossier's charge that Mr. Page met with two Kremlin figures in Moscow, the FBI cited the Yahoo News article which said the same thing. But the Nunes memo said the FBI, in its Foreign Surveillance Intelligence Act application, wasn't corroborating the dossier because the Page accusation in Yahoo came from the same source, Mr. Steele. The Carter Page FISA application also cited extensively a September 23, 2016 Yahoo News article by Michael Isikoff, which focuses on Page's July 2016 trip to Moscow, the memo states. This article does not corroborate the Steele dossier because it is derived from information leaked by Steele himself to Yahoo News. Mr. Nunes cited Mr. Steele's testimony through his attorneys in a London court case in which he is being sued for libel. Then came a Democratic rebuttal from Representative Adam B. Schiff of California, leading dossier supporter. Mr. Schiff, the House Intelligence Committee's top Democrat, said Republicans failed to cite evidence that Steele disclosed to Yahoo details included in the FISA warrant since the British court filings to which they refer do not address what Steele may have said to Yahoo. This assertion is important to Democrats. They are trying to bolster the FBI as it pursues collusion charges between the Trump campaign and Russia and also support Mr. Steele, whose unverified accusations they have repeatedly cited. The two pieces of evidence that say Mr. Steele was in fact the source. In the London court case, Mr. Steele acknowledged that he came to the U.S. in September of 2016 at the request of Fusion GPS, which paid him with Democratic Party money. He met with a number of major news representatives, including the New York Times and Washington Post, as he tried to sell his explosive charges. Included in Mr. Steele's list of appointments was a meeting with Mr. Isikoff, this guy from Yahoo News. Mr. Isikoff subsequently wrote a story that matched the dossier. Both the dossier and the Yahoo story said Mr. Page met with two U.S.-sanctioned Russians, Rosneft oil chief Igor Sechin and Vladimir Putin aide Igor Devakin. Mr. Isikoff sourced the information not to Mr. Steele but to a Western intelligence source. Mr. Page, whose trip to Moscow was for a public speech at a university, has repeatedly denied under oath that he met with the two men. The former Moscow resident and energy investor has decried the investigation into him, including the nearly 1-year-long wiretap, which he says found no wrongdoing. After Mr. Schiff wrote his rebuttal to the Nunes memo on January 31st, Mr. Isikoff, a longtime journalist in Washington with a number of scoops to his credit, posted an edition of his podcast, Skullduggery, on February 2nd. Through the Nunes memo, Mr. Isikoff had just learned and said he was surprised that the FBI relied on his article before the FISA court judge. He told about being summoned by his old friend, Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson, to a private room in a Washington hotel to meet the former spy from Britain. Steele tells me an amazing story. Mr. Isikoff said one of Donald Trump's foreign policy advisors, Carter Page, had flown to Moscow and held private talks with close associates of Vladimir Putin about lifting U.S. sanctions against Russia. And Steele tells me something else that day that gets my attention. He has taken this information to the FBI and the Bureau is very interested. Why were they interested? What did the Bureau know that would prompt them to take the next step of launching an investigation into an advisor to the Republican nominee for president? Mr. Isikoff subsequently wrote the article that ended up in the FBI's FISA petition. His podcast sealed the case for Mr. Nunes. This prompts the question, why did the FBI believe that the dossier section about Mr. Page and the Isikoff article came from collaborating sources? The answer lies in a declassified referral sent to the Justice Department from Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, Iowa Republican, and Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina Republican. The two said the evidence suggests that Mr. Steele lied to the FBI when he denied being the source. They have asked the Justice Department to investigate him. The FBI repeatedly represented to the court that Mr. Steele told the FBI he did not have unauthorized contact with the press about the dossier prior to October 2016. The senator's referral said, the FISA applications make these claims specifically in the context of the September 2016 Yahoo News article. But Mr. Steele has admitted publicly before a court of law that he did have such contacts with the press at this time, and his former business partner, Mr. Simpson, has confirmed it to the committee. The referral says that the FBI either submitted false information or Mr. Steele made materially false statements to the FBI when he claimed he provided the dossier information only to his business partners and the FBI. So either way, somebody's going down, right? You know, you see how they're twisting and turning things to try to get off the hook, but they're not going to be able to because they have the facts in front of them. And this is going to be taken up. Absolutely. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.